Okay, we're fine. We're fine. We're fine. It's fine. Yeah. Good morrow, one and all. I'm Rose, and I personally think that we should bring back Good Morrow. I don't know, there's something very charming and silly about it. But anyway, before I dive into the books that I read in September, I do want to briefly let you all know that I'm going to be traveling during most of October. I will have 2 pre-recorded videos to sprinkle throughout the month, but that is all I had time to make and record and all that fun jazz. The way I've chosen to spread things out, I will not be uploading on October 9th and the 23rd, but overall you're still getting 3 videos from me in October, so good enough. Yep, cool. I also promise that I won't wait months until I make videos and publish them about my travels. I've had a really bad habit of doing that in the past. We're all works in progress. Also, yes, y'all will just have to wait to see where I've traveled to, because I've got to keep you all on a cliffhanger and stick around. Okay, cool. Now that I have your interest and anticipation brewing, let's move on to the books that I read. Sweet. All right, my first book over in my little pile over here is The Wicked Comet by Laura Carlin. Can you see it? Can you see it? Can you see it? Can you see it? Yes, you can. Sorry, I'm in a mood. It's a strange morning. So this is a historical fiction mystery novel, and it follows 18-year-old Hester, who she's very down on her luck. And at the beginning of the book, we learn that her parents died when she was 11 years old, I think in the span of less than a year. That is rough. And since then, she has been living with her dad's former employee, a gardener, his wife, and their 2 little kids. But making a living has been very hard for them all, so they pretty much live in just the worst area of London, England in 1831. Wait for this car to go by. Vroom vroom. Okay, bye. A chance encounter brings Hester into the lives of a higher class family. Hester then has an opportunity to make a better life for herself, and she pursues that. And of course, she faces some challenges along the way, and that's where the mystery aspect comes into play. I don't want to give too much away, but I do think it's nice to point out that there is a romance, or eventual romance, because it's a bit of a slow burn, between Hester and another woman. And I think it's doubly interesting considering this is 1831 England, and I would imagine there were just extra challenges for LGBTQ plus couples during that time period. So that happens. But for the main couple, I will say that I felt that the relationship was a little underdeveloped than it could have been. It wasn't as developed as it could have been. There we go. Just a tiny bit too much telling and not enough showing. How quickly Hester becomes infatuated and developed feelings for this other woman, it was just a bit surprising, because during that time specifically, I, as the reader, wasn't really given enough information about this other woman to, I think, really warrant this development. I didn't know enough about the other woman to fully understand and I guess fully believe in Hester's feelings for her. Not gonna lie, there were some times during this book that Hester's thirst for this woman was so intense that sometimes I was just thinking, girl, you need to gain just a little bit of chill. But I also want to mention, to put it out there, that there were 2 scenes of an intimate nature that they troubled me a little bit. They baffled me a little bit, because they took place either during or right after, shall we say, dangerous or disturbing things. I don't know about you, but that kind of put me off from feeling positive, from feeling the good feelings that I think I was supposed to be feeling, but I wasn't. There's a time and a place, time and a place. But anywho's, the protagonist, Hester, she's the protagonist. Got it. She is definitely brave considering some of the situations that she is placed in, that she is put in. And I liked the fact that she knew how to get shit done. She knew from the start that she could have a better life, and she never gave up on that. So go Hester, go you. On the other hand, I did find her character to be a little bit melodramatic at times, which kind of took me out of the story during those moments. Now, once I hit about the midpoint of this book, I did start to lose a little bit of interest, and I think that can definitely be attributed to the pacing of the book. It wasn't wholly consistent throughout, and it wasn't until about the last 70 pages that things started to pick back up. And even then, I felt that the ending was slightly rushed, and how things came to be resolved was just a little bit convenient. So that happened. And I do think one of the big messages of this story is, if you see something bad going on and you see that other people aren't really doing anything about it, then don't let your fear stop you from helping out if you can. Hester and someone else, they take on detective roles because they want to help out despite knowing that it's going to put them in some dangerous situations, and they are not fully prepared, but they do it anyway. And I think the last thing I want to say about this book is just, I do think Laura Carlin has a lot of potential as an author. She's clearly got some skills happening here. She's really good at crafting a very atmospheric world. However, for my personal taste, I sometimes felt that the amount of descriptions happening within the book, it just became a bit gratuitous. There were definitely times that I was wishing that Hester and just the story itself would get to the point. But again, I think this is perhaps a personal preference. Overall, I enjoyed the book, but I would rate it 3 out of 5 stars. Now, sometimes while reading this, I was just needing a break from the dreary world that was happening in that. So at the same time, I was reading, if I can pick it up, this nonfiction book, The Magical Worlds of the Lord of the Rings, The Amazing Myths, Legends, and Facts Behind the Masterpiece by David Colbert. Now, I would say it's not the most in-depth book into the behind the scenes or behind the story of Lord of the Rings, but I don't think it was meant to be. It's definitely deeper than just listing out a bunch of bullet point facts, so I would say this kind of falls somewhere nicely in the middle. To me, it's clear that Colbert, he definitely took the proper time to collect his sources and organize his research into a narrative that makes sense and is, at least to me, it was enjoyable to read. It's not just a dry list of facts. I felt that he put personality into his writing, which, well, that's always good. I think that whatever level of fan you are of Lord of the Rings and Tolkien, as long as you are interested in learning more, I think you will enjoy this book. It's a nice companion piece to Lord of the Rings. It's something to reference back to whenever you want to. And 2 of my favorite things that I learned while reading this is, 1, that Tolkien was bitter about Shakespeare and Shakespeare's portrayal of fairies and elves. Tolkien felt that it was too childish and not dignified, at least the way that Tolkien viewed the fairies and elves to be. There's just something beautiful about that. And the second thing is how many freaking languages Tolkien spoke. This dude spoke at least 16 languages. 3 of them are dead languages. Go hard, bro. So, in summary, this is a very short thing. While I quite enjoyed this book, and I will definitely come back to it again and again, I would rate this 4 out of 5 stars because, while I enjoyed it, it didn't change my life, So, 4 out of 5 stars. Next, where should I put these? You're gonna go there. All right, so next on my wrist, Next on my list I read a contemporary YA, Shazam! What If It's Us by Becky, Albertalli, and Adam Silvera. Yeah, so this was also the first book that I DNF'd in my journey to read all the books that is currently on my bookshelf. I had been tempted to quit this book around page 60, but I told myself, no, you've got to make it as far as you can because reasons. And I did. I made it halfway through. I actually don't know if you can see that. You just need to know that I made it halfway through. And that's when I quit. So what I did, my thumb is getting tired. Okay, we're switching. You can still see it. What I did read of this book, it follows two teenage boys in New York, Arthur, who is Jewish, and Ben, who is Puerto Rican American, who have a meet cute at the very beginning, and they are very quickly separated, and many pages are dedicated to these two trying to find each other, and then when they do, it kind of follows them on a series of dates. Yep, so without getting into other details, that's pretty much what the book was up until the point that I quit. And I felt quite meh about the book. I was definitely originally intrigued because of the fact that this book has a leading couple that identify as LGBTQ+. But a big reason that I found this book to be quite meh and underwhelming is because I never really felt chemistry between the leads, Ben and Arthur. There was just nothing in the dialogue or the writing overall that proved to me that Ben and Arthur had chemistry. I mean, I could tell that the authors, they were trying, but it was just never believable to me. Therefore, after their initial meet cute, I didn't really understand why these two were presumably so drawn to one another to want to try and reconnect after what I felt was just an awkward 5-minute encounter. The story and the writing overall, it just wasn't to my taste, and I think the writing in particular, I found the writing to be a little too simplistic for me. The writing and even the characters I didn't feel like there was much depth to it. For the characters, I felt like I had a better grasp of who Ben is, but not really Arthur. And even then, overall, I felt kind of indifferent towards Ben. And for Arthur, he was just a big question mark to me. I don't know. I just didn't really jive with him. And I understand that teenagers are notoriously hard to write. But yeah, I could tell that adults were writing them. It wasn't horrible. But there were definitely moments that, it made me cringe. And I've also got to agree with Kat from Paperback Dreams, who also DNF'd this like over a year ago. There were just too many pop culture references. It won't bother everyone, but for me, I didn't personally enjoy it. I felt there were too many of them, and it will definitely date this book in probably 10 years or less. Yeah, that just personal preference there. Okay, so from what I could tell, I think the authors were just trying to convey that relationships take work. And they do. And you may have an awkward and rocky beginning, not necessarily in an unhealthy way, to things. Hopefully that made sense. You've got to work for your love and your happiness. However, while I only read half of this book, it was just overall coming across as flat to me. The characters were saying that, oh, the other boy is cute, that there is potential there, that Arthur in particular wanted to give this a go. I never felt that, and I know I'm repeating myself here, like, nah. I was just never convinced that there was anything special, and even Ben was kind of coming across as lukewarm to everything. I mean, it makes sense because he had just gotten out of a relationship. So I just had no interest in continuing the rest of the story. And also, as Cindy from Read with Cindy has stated, not specifically about this book, but kind of a blanket statement, while the diversity for the main characters was nice, that diversity should be a standard and not a bonus for this, what was otherwise a mediocre story. Okay, so while I didn't finish this, and I can't give an official rating, but I would probably still give it 2 out of 5 stars. Okay, cool. Let's move on, shall we? Although things didn't go uphill from there. They continue to stay on a bit of a low note for me, folks. So after reading that, I read this, Billy and Me by Giovanna Fletcher. It is a contemporary women's novel, and I've already done a pretty in-depth review of this book, which click the card here, or I will link I will leave the link in the description box below. Got it. So I won't get into too much detail here, but this story follows Sophie, a pretty reserved woman who is in her mid-20s, and she lives in a small village. Billy Buskins, a handsome actor, swoops into her life. Romance ensues, and Sophie soon finds herself living in London with Billy as he continues to pursue his acting career. In the end, I never felt convinced of this romance because I felt it was kind of underdeveloped. Billy was never really a fully fleshed out character, at least in my eyes. The two leads, the romantic leads, they kind of constantly sucked at communicating. Jealousy and drama happened, and by the end I felt it was all a little bit rushed and generally unsatisfactory to me. Yeah. And also this story, it's from Sophie's perspective, and she just often read as a teenager to me and not a grown woman in her mid-20s. So while I didn't hate this book, I didn't particularly like it either. So I would rate this 2 out of 5 stars. And also, just fun fact, I also own Dream a Little Dream, also by Giovanna Fletcher. I bought these two books at around the same time over 2.5 years ago, but after reading Billy and Me, I'm not entirely for sure if I'm going to read Dream a Little Dream, but that's a problem for future me. So after that kind of failed romance, I wanted to read kind of just the polar opposite, something entirely different. So I picked up Dracula by Bram Stoker from my library. There's many stickers on this book just trying to snitch on me, trying to broadcast where I live, hence the weird post-it notes. But anywho's, Dracula is a gothic horror novel, and it was published in 1897. Long time ago. I gotta tell you, I'm not a person who particularly enjoys horror, scary things, gory things, but I don't know. I was just in a mood. Now, I haven't actually finished this book, which I'm a little bit bummed about, but I still just wanted to mention it. I'm about 45% of the way through, and I'm enjoying it. This story, it's not being told in a linear fashion, and there are several point of views, 4 main point of views so far, but I find this method of storytelling fun. It's been a while. I don't remember the last book I've read that has just told a story in a non-linear fashion and all that good stuff. Anywho's, there is definitely a mystery to this story, and how the story and details are being presented. It's interesting to me. Since I know I will officially finish reading this book sometime in October this month, perhaps it's actually quite fitting considering October, at least in the US, is considered a spooky month with Halloween at the very end. And there is another book that I am in the middle of, and that is this really cute middle grade book called Gustav, Gloom and the People Taker by Fudge. Where are you? I'm sorry, sir. Adam Troy Castro. You're doing great. By Adam Troy Castro. As I just said, I'm in the middle of this. It also has some spooky elements to it, very fitting for October. Even so, I will finish and record a full review on this, and this is going to be one of the videos that I will schedule for when I'm away during most of October. To be specific, the video on this will be published on October 30th, just in time for Halloween, so yeah, look forward to that. Yep. Sorry, my mind just went blank a little bit. Moving on to what? All right. So, moving on to my very brief mini book haul, as the title states. Yeah, mini book haul. It was spontaneous for me. I mentioned in my booktube newbie tag that I rarely, I can say that word, buy books, and I still hold to that. Anywho's, so my husband and I were recently out of town, and we came across a used bookstore, and that is where I picked up 3 middle grade books that I knew that I would want to read over and over. So, the first one, Shazam! Matilda by Roald Dahl. Mr. Dahl. I have read this book before, 1 or 2 times when I was a child. I enjoyed it. And I also thoroughly enjoy the 1990s movie adaptation. It's a classic, okay? And where else am I going with this? I don't know. It's a cute book, okay? The other 2 books that I picked up. Again, it's a weird morning, y'all. It's a weird morning. I picked up Winnie the Pooh. And also, its companion, The House. Is that at Pooh Corner? The House at Pooh Corner. I've got the giggles. They are by A.A. Milne. Yup. Now, have I read these books before? No. But I would be very surprised if I don't enjoy these, considering the amount of Winnie the Pooh shows and movies that I have watched throughout my life. So, frankly, I just have every confidence that I will enjoy these. I will be charmed by these for many years to come. Cool. I think that concludes my mini book haul. I mean, there were only 3 books, so there's only so much to say on them. Well, I could tell you what the books are about, I suppose. So with Winnie the Pooh, you really only need to know that it's adventures with Winnie the Pooh and friends. Matilda, that is essentially about a genius 5-year-old girl who has powers, and she has a garbage family, and she has a principal who honestly needs to go to jail. But, throughout the book, Matilda takes control of her life in more ways than one. Yep, that's really all you need to know. Okay, cool. I'm glad we had this talk. Sweet. Okay, moving on. God, I'm doing great. I don't know. Okay. So, as I mentioned, I think twice now in my video, but at the start of the video, I am going to be away for most of October, so I'm not really sure how many books I will even be able to read during this month, but even so, as a reminder to us all, it's not a competition of who can read the most books, just read how much you want to, enjoy it, read because you want to, and read when you want to. Sweet. Some wise words there. I really need to wrap this up because weird mood. So, any of these books that I have mentioned, have you read any of them? Let me know your thoughts and stuff and things in the comments below. I also just want to put out there that I think monthly wrap-ups are just one of my favorite types of videos to watch from other booktubers. Cool story, bro. That is all I have for you today. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you are having a lovely day. You know what? Have a weird day. Weird is good. I hope you're having a weird day, like mine. And I will see you all in my next video, okay? Okay, cool. Okay, bye!